What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 23 of the Diego Colley Football Show. Apologies for no episode on Monday. Got back from LA late after the game Sunday and kind of just wanted to process. It was a brutal loss for the Seahawks that we're going to talk about in detail before looking at this week's game against the Titans. But I mean, we'll start there. First of all, I just want to say probably only going to be one show next week, Thanksgiving break. Not going to drop a show on Thanksgiving. We'll probably just do kind of a similar one to this, probably dropping on Wednesday. Kind of talking about the week before, previewing the upcoming one. They'll probably be off on Tuesday or Wednesday, so look out for that next week. But yeah, the Seahawks lose to the Los Angeles Rams. They lose 21-19, a winnable football game, a crushing loss, but a loss that, when looking at the game in perspective and who you lost to and how you lost, it kind of, in a weird way, and seen a lot of people have this take, in a weird way, it makes you feel better about the team in a must-win playoff game because, I mean, Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. The thing I like have thought a lot too is that not just the interceptions, but you kicked 4 field goals. That's 8 drives practically against a good defense and against a good offense. Definitely on the other side of the ball, you made 4 field goals. You missed one, obviously, but that's 8 drives that, if one of them ends in a touchdown, that you win the football game. And the Rams didn't kick a field goal. You held them to 3 touchdowns. 2 of their 3 touchdown drives were under 40 yards. One of them was handed to them after the interception. It was like a 2-yard run. One of them was 75 yards, and one of them was 25 yards. So I guess the 2 of them were under 25 then. Well, then they had one 75-yard touchdown drive in the first quarter. And after the first quarter, you had Matthew Stafford locked up, quite frankly. I haven't seen someone counter Sean McVay like McDonald has shown in these 2 meaningful games that they've played. Obviously, last year, the regular season game in Seattle goes to overtime. This year, this one. The defense did all they could. And in a game, obviously, like, the big takeaway, like, on the national level from this game is that, Sam Darnold did it again. He's not a big game player. And I mean, this game definitely didn't help that narrative that people obviously had before this. But I would take my odds that he's not going to throw 4 interceptions in the next time these teams match up, or he's not going to throw 4 interceptions in a playoff game. These interceptions were things that, especially because it's not like these were just bad decisions. And I feel like that's one of those things that trial by fire. Like, he was trying to do too much in this big game. He was trying to make stuff happen. And I mean, it bit him. And that's what's going to happen against good teams. But he made good throws on the day. I mean, he had some subtle misses, but he played they moved the ball pretty well. Like, that's the thing. Like, watching the game, being there, the Seahawks were constantly moving the ball down the field. Just when they got into that red zone area, or when they got into a brutal third down and his first read wasn't necessarily there, he kind of panicked a little bit. And the first pick was frustrating because the first interception, he goes off the play action and he just kind of tries to force it to JSN, I believe. And it just wasn't necessary. And that gives him the first touchdown of the game. That one was just kind of frustrating because it was, we got to stop on 4th down. Stop the Rams on our side of the ball. Get a stop on 4th down. Get the ball back. Have a chance to go get some real momentum to start the game. And just an interception on the 3rd play of the game. After you had just got, it was 1st and 10. He's going to Cup. It was 1st and 10. Just unnecessary. It was really, really unnecessary. And then the second one, he throws 3 in the second half. That really can't happen. But the second one's on the first drive of the 3rd quarter when we actually had some momentum. I mean, if you're looking at like the drive chart, they're down 6-14. They have 1 drive before half. They go on an 8-minute, 15-play, 90-yard drive that ends in a field goal. That if you get 7 there, dude, I mean, you got down to the 3-yard line. I didn't really like some of the choices there. I didn't like the play on 3rd and goal. But I mean, you had a chance to punch it in the end zone. I like kicking. You made it a 5-point game. You're getting the ball, and you have success with the offense. And he throws an interception on 3rd and 9, going to the right side. I believe that was the out route to JSN. That's just a miss. I mean, that's all that was. It was just a flat out miss. And that's just one of the things that he was a little late on the throw. He left it on the inside. And I mean, and it bit him. The third one was going to Arroyo over the middle. Kinchin jumps it. That was a frustrating one because it's the first play of the drive or second play of the drive. It's 1st and 20. And it kind of just kills you. And it's another spot where it's 14-12. You're down 2 points. And just an unnecessary, you only really need a field goal there, and you give them a short field to go to score a touchdown. You're down 2 scores. It's just errors that didn't need to be made in that moment. And the last one was the jump pass. The jump pass was dumb, but I mean, when Mike McDonald spoke, he said that there's some situations where when you obviously want him to be able to take a sack, eat it, but it's a 3rd and 3 in a big part of the game. And I see what he's saying because, I mean, it is true. It's 3rd and 3 and you're on the Rams 36. So a sack there kind of takes you out of a field goal range. And you don't want to do that because you're only on 2 and you have a chance to, or you're trying to make it a 1-score game, so you don't want to get out of field goal range. But I mean, Sam Darnold isn't throwing jump passes. Like that's one of those ones you put in the dirt, he probably makes it, or you try to check it down. Going over the middle of the field against this Rams team when it's not there has kind of shown to be something that they'll come back and kick you because I mean they just make you pay, and it seems like Matt Hasselbeck said they played a lot of coverage. They're really just sitting at the sticks. You can get burned deep when you do that, but they were literally they're just sitting at the sticks and guarding the first down range. And he said he thinks the Seahawks will counter that in the next game in Seattle on Thursday Night Football, and that they should have went back to it on that during that game in big 3rd downs. But the plays were there. I mean, it's a really frustrating loss, but especially at the end, I mean, you get a stop, you score, you get a stop. And the Rams punter has, like, one of the best punts I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it bounces on the 2, kicks up, and goes out of bounds to the 1-yard line. Like, that's just one of those things, like, what? You can't do anything about that. You gotta respect them for that. After they gave you one with throwing him on 3rd down, you gave him a timeout. And quite frankly, like, if the Seahawks hit the ball on the 10-yard line, I think they probably win that game. Because the first 2 plays of that drive were you had to get out of the end zone. I mean, you can't really drop back and try to push the ball down the field when you're at the 1-yard line. You're at risk of taking a safety, and that really ends the game. So you kind of had to, and they got themselves into a few 3rd downs at the start of that drive where they kind of couldn't try to push the ball down the field because you had to focus on extending the drive and getting to a first down. I mean, there's only 40 seconds left on the clock, and they had the ball at the 18-yard line, or their own 18-yard line. So I think they could have handled the situation at the end of the game a little better. I don't think it was horrible. They did what they had to do. If you're out on the 1, it's a completely different situation. But the outlook on the game, I mean, the defense played amazing. I mean, and if this is the defense that's going to show up, if this defense is going to be healthy, I mean, you got to feel pretty good about it. I think that this team can beat anyone. I think the defense is going to keep them in every single game. I mean, they showed this. The offense spotted them practically 14 points. The defense gave up 1 real touchdown drive, and you lost the game by 2 points when you turn the ball over 4 times. So, like, it's not the end of the world. It's frustrating if you really want to win the division because, I mean, I think you're looking at a spot where you might have to win out to win the division, and I'm not saying they can't do that. You guys got to take care of business these next 3 games. I'm not really going to touch on the Titans. Like, I'm kind of just looking at this in a broader perspective. Titans are 1-9. I don't see a reason that the Titans should score more than 14 points in this game, in like a real game. I don't see a reason that this Titans offense should be able to push the ball down the field on the Seahawks team. Like, I think if they score more than 14 when it's not garbage time, it should be looked at kind of as a disappointment for this defense. And I think Mike McDonald would agree. Mike McDonald against a rookie quarterback who's struggled all year. And I just kind of want to see the offense get back on track. I don't want to see him turn the ball over. Like, I mean, obviously, but I want to see Kenneth Walker get a lot of carries. I mean, Mike McDonald said yesterday, Kenneth Walker's earning more carries, and I don't think there's any reason for him not to be. I mean, just looking at this Rams game, every single piece of explosion on the rushing game, or even from a check down perspective, came from Kenneth Walker. 16 carries, 67 yards. Zach Charbonnet had 11 carries for 37 yards. Kenneth Walker also had 3 receptions for 44 yards. He was like Charbonnet is supposedly kind of the more third down back, better pass blocker, but I mean, what K9 showed even just checking it down to him, his ability to extend plays and get downfield cannot be overlooked. Cannot be overlooked at all. And AJ Barner, I think, is a big um a big revelation from this game. 10 for 70. He was kind of the go-to on big third downs type of thing for Darnold. As Darnold was constantly looking for him. Reliable hands in the middle of the field, kind of like what people expected Cooper Kupp to be, was what Barner was. And Kupp had a rough days, 3 for 23, 7 targets. They were trying to find him in certain situations, just subtle misses. I mean, when I think about subtle misses, I think about the miss to Shaheed down the right side of the field. He has him. I mean, you got to get Bryn Forbes makes a great play, but he has him. And I mean, Sam throws a catchable ball, and if Forbes doesn't make a diving all-out play, he probably makes the catch. I mean, he does make the catch for a touchdown, but it's just a little bit underthrown. And that's the margins that good football teams are gonna make. Those are the plays that they're gonna make to win big games. And that's what the Rams have notoriously constantly done. That's why they're the consensus probably best team in the NFL right now. So just looking on the Seahawks perspective in the next 3 games, I think you just got to take care of business. You got the Titans, the Vikings, and the Rams. The Titans, Vikings, and the Falcons. All 3 teams are in really rough spots right now. And then that sets you up with the final 4-game stretch of Colts, Rams, Panthers, Niners. That I think there's a chance you can win out. I think if you win out, I think you obviously win the division because I think you probably would have. I don't know how the tiebreakers would work. I think you'd have it over the Rams. And I mean, looking at their schedule, they kind of have a few cupcakes. I think if they beat the Bucs this week at home on Sunday night, which I mean, you got to expect them to do, maybe the Bucs can channel some of that early season magic. If you beat them, they have the Panthers, Cardinals, and they go Lions, Seahawks, and Falcons, Cardinals. So you got to hope that the Bucs or the Lions can knock them down. Both those games are at home, so that's the advantage for them on that standpoint. But I mean, yeah, and the division is going to be a big thing. I think these are 2 teams that I would probably think that they're going to meet up in the playoffs if all things go well for both of them. I think they're probably more dangerous than Philly. I mean, Philly they obviously have all the weapons, but they just can't really figure it out right now. And it's weird. It's weird to see, but because they just keep finding ways to win in the weirdest spots. I'll talk about that game in a little bit, but the Seahawks are going to be fine. It's a really, really rough loss to take, and it really doesn't help the narratives that people are going to have about them because they finally had this hype coming in this game, and then they go in and do the thing that kind of the reason that people were doubting them before the season. Oh, Sam Darnold can't show up in the big game, but I don't think it's a big game problem. I think these are mistakes that can be fixed, and I think they're going to be okay. Just going back to last week, I'm just going to go a few winners and losers. I'm not going to talk about every game in detail because I'll talk about those kind of when I preview the games, but winners and losers of the week. Just talk about the Hawks game. Give me the Bears as a winner. I feel like I say it every week. The Bears are sitting at 7-3, and they don't play a very good football game. Caleb Williams doesn't play a very good football game. And they probably, this was a weird one because it was kind of the inverse of week 1 between the Bears and the Vikings. The Bears were kind of ahead the whole game. I mean, they were in control. It was 16-3 going into the 4th quarter. And J.J. McCarthy shows up in the clutch, as he didn't show up really all day, and puts up 2 touchdown drives in the 4th quarter to kind of feel like he stole the game. And the Vikings fans are going crazy. Was going to put them to 5-5. And Caleb Williams marches them down the field. Or not really. You got to give credit to Devin Duvernay because Devin Duvernay gets them to the 56, gets them to the 40-yard line. They have run the ball 3 times and they kick it. So I mean, that's my fault on that one. But they found a way to win the game. And this would have been a crushing Bears loss, a classic one after Cairo Santos misses a kick. He misses a kick in the 4th quarter, misses a 45-yard to make it a 2-score game. And it kind of felt like, oh my gosh, the Bears are going to blow this game. And McCarthy trots him down in 2 minutes, gets it to Addison for the touchdown. And Ben Johnson trusts Cairo Santos from the 48. It always stresses me out when teams do this. The Seahawks did it earlier this season. I think the Bears have done it twice. They kind of just set up their guy for like a 45, 50-yard field goal, which they've made it both these times that I'm referring to. But they didn't. I mean, there's 40 seconds. I'm not saying you have to try to push the ball on the field, but you can throw the ball. That was kind of interesting to me, but it worked out. This is another game the Bears just find ways to win, and they're sitting there 1st place in the division. somehow. They got the Steelers, Eagles, Packers, Browns, Packers, Niners, Lions. I mean, that's an absolute gauntlet on the season. If they got to beat the Steelers this week, and it's weird because they're 7-3. They're winning all these games coming from behind at the end of the game, but that schedule is brutal. And I mean, I think this is a pretty good football team because good football teams find ways to win. But I mean, it's hard to say how sustainable it is. The Steelers, I don't know who's going to start quarterback this week. If they can beat the Steelers, they're in a spot where they kind of just have to win 2 out of the last 6, and you probably get in the playoffs. I mean, obviously they're not going to settle for that, but they keep finding ways to win, and it's really, really impressive to me. Let's take another winner for the week. I'm going to say the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy came back from the toe injury. He looked smooth. This was a dominating win. This was a Cardinals team that kind of hangs people around. Jacoby Brissett sets the all-time single game completions record in kind of the weirdest game of all time. He throws 2 picks, 47 to 57, 452 yards. They only ran the ball 14 times. Michael Wilson has 185 receiving yards. McBride has 115 on 15 receptions and 10 receptions for each of them. He sets the record in a 19-point loss. I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing to look at, but he did it. So congratulations to Jacoby Brissett. But Purdy came back, looked good. This was like a dominating 49ers win, a classic 49ers win. McCaffrey contributes. He doesn't have to touch the ball too many times. Only touches 18 times, which for him is great. Kittle is your leading receiver. I mean, it's just exactly what you wanted to see if you're a 49ers fan. So I think you just got to be happy that this division game on the road against a team that has kind of played spoiler to a lot of guys this year, you were able to avoid that and not really ever get into serious trouble. We'll go Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos find a way. They keep finding ways to win. I mean, kind of similar to the Bears. They're sitting at 9-2, 6-0 at home. I don't know if they're going to lose at home, Beckham. They got 2 road games against Commanders and the Raiders next. They have a bye week coming up this week. I mean, this was shocking. This was absolutely shocking. I didn't get to watch this game live because I was at the Seahawks game, but I mean, I just kept, until watching it back later, we just kept checking the score and like, how are they hanging around in this game? And Bo Nix delivers at the end of the game to push them down to field goal range, delivers to Troy Franklin, and they make a field goal to send the Chiefs to 5-5 and the Denver Broncos to 9-2. I don't really know what to say. It's each time, each game kind of is more and more improbable. I mean, this is a team that it's never pretty no matter who they play. Texans, Raiders, Chiefs, and they all end in the same result, a 3-point Broncos victory. And I think it just goes back to the defense. I mean, this defense is going to keep you in every single game. They're going to keep you in every single game. Jaquan McMillan had a hell of a game. He had an interception of his own. I know he had a sack. He had 2 sacks, 2 TFLs, 1 pass breakup, 2 quarterback hits. They do. I mean, Hollywood Brown was 4 for 40. Rashid Rice was 6 for 38. He hasn't really on 9 targets. Kelsey's their leading receiver with 13 targets, 9 receptions. But Rice has been a little underwhelming. I mean, he was good in his first game back. And since then, it's kind of just been like he hasn't really shown me since those first 2 games back. In the 2 games against Buffalo and Denver. I mean, Buffalo had 80 yards, but 4 receptions, 7 targets. That's not number 1 receiver material. And 6 for 38 yards. Like, that's not an extended play down the field that they kind of need him to be. Mahomes, I mean, he goes 29 for 45. A lot of people this week on Twitter are highlighting his deep ball struggles because he's missing guys open. On the second play of the game, he has, I believe it was Worthy down the field open, and he has a clean pocket, and he overthrows him. And there's another one later, Thornton's a little more heavily covered, and he just misses him again. And you can't be this great, and you can't keep missing these guys on the field because a team that has struggled to have the explosive plays this season, you need to hit those when they're open. And a lot of Chiefs fans have kind of shown some displeasure with Andy Reid, just kind of on the sense that they're doing weird stuff personnel-wise. There's a point at the end of the game when I believe it's a 2nd and 10 in the clutch time on a clutch drive, and he's in 13 personnel with Rashid Rice at running back. So he has 3 tight ends all split out. It's like Noah Gray, Kelsey, Robert Tonyan. Kareem Hunt's out at wide at far right at receiver, and Rashid Rice is the running back. And it ends up it's just a weird play that doesn't end up working out. And it's like, what are we like? Why? That is just not necessary, dude. Like at all. So yeah, big winner this week is the Denver Broncos. They're onto a bye, so I mean, just to be able to win this game, no production on the ground. RJ Harvey's 11 carries for 30 yards. Bo Nix plays a solid game. I mean, they just keep finding ways to win, and the defense was after Mahomes. It's just an impressive. It's an impressive way to win football games because this was a game that I thought that they were going to lose by far. I didn't think that they were going to be able to hang around. I thought the Chiefs would put in more points than 19. But I mean, it's kind of a Seahawks situation. This defense is going to keep you in every single game, and Bo Nix, he delivers. I mean, he delivers in the big moments. It's not busy. It's not pretty all game, but this game and the Raiders game. He's delivered in the big moments to put them down the field to kick the game-winning field goal. So, I mean, props to the Denver Broncos. Props to the Donkeys. Just overlooking the last few. Last winner of the week. We'll do the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens hung over in Vegas, and they go out and perform. I mean, they played the Las Vegas Raiders, so you can't give them too much credit for this, but this is what it should look like every week. This offense has too many weapons for them not to be this explosive every week. Dak is 25 for 33 for 270 and 4 touchdowns. Pickens is so good. I believe he's the second leading receiver in the league. CD is 5 for 66 and 1 touchdown. Pickens is 9 for 144. Some of those plays, his run after the catch is just absolutely, it's special stuff. And I mean, there's just no reason this isn't what it should look like. They got the Eagles this week. I'll talk about that. They should be able to. I mean, the Eagles' defense is very good, but with how bad their defense is and the shortcomings there, I mean, Quentin Williams showed up in this game. Their defense hasn't shown that they can be good against a good team or even decent against a good team. But I mean, their offense should keep them in every game, and it has the capabilities to. Lastly, actually, one more thing I do want to talk about is the Miami Dolphins. They're in they're 4-7. They're in a spot where they can be 6-7 in 2 weeks, or in the next 2 games. They have a bye week, and they have the Saints and the Jets coming up. And this is 2 games in a row. This is one of the ugliest football games I've ever watched. I was watching it at a Buffalo Wild Wings at 9:30 in the morning, the end of this game, and it's ugly. There's no reason they should have won this game. The coaching decision I feel was horrible. I don't know why you have a chance to kick a field goal and go 3 points against Marcus Mariota, and you decide to go for it on the 1 yard. I mean, I understand it's a touchdown, but have some confidence you can stop this Commander defense. And if not, you go to overtime. But instead, you go for it on the 1, you get stuffed, and you have to rely on the Commanders missing the field goal, which they do, and then you send it to overtime. Mariota throws a pick on the first play, and then you kick the field goal to win it. But I mean, impressive win. The Miami Dolphins find a way to win the game. And I mean, weirdly are in a dark horse for the playoff race. Like, I don't know how, I don't know why, but they are. We'll get to week 12 now. Buffalo Bills take on the Houston Texans in Houston. Bills are 7-3. Texans are 5-5. Davis Mills versus Josh Allen. Stroud's gonna miss one more week, and Jalen Petrie will be out for week 12 as well. Texans last week, they beat the Titans 16-13. Was not pretty again. There's a lot of just not pretty games in the NFL recently, but this is a team that squeaked it out, and it kind of keeps them alive for the playoffs. I mean, you got to give props to Cam Ward in this situation. Drives him down to tie the game with 5 minutes to go. But Davis Mills delivers. He gets the ball to his guys. They go up and down and kick the 35-yard field goal to win the game and kind of keep their hopes alive, because a loss to the Titans here would have been absolutely crushing. And he gets the ball to Nico Collins again. I mean, this has kind of been a theme with him in his last few weeks starting. Davis Mills is going to get the ball to Nico Collins, which I love. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. Higgins tacks along. Schultz tacks along for 55 yards each. Noel doesn't do much. Hutchinson gives you 40 yards, but we get the report this morning. Joe Mixon is not going to play football this year. That's one of the weirdest storylines just of the entire year injury-wise, because this injury kind of comes out of nowhere, and then he's going to miss this amount of weeks. There's no real timetable, and now he's not going to be able to play the entire year, which is, kind of brutal for a running back in his stage of his career. I don't really know if there is if there is kind of a place for him to come back. I mean, he'll be on a roster, but he was already kind of towards the tail end of his successful prime. I'd say if you wanted to say he was still in his prime, he had a really good year last season, but it's hard for a running back to take a year off and come back and be productive at that position in this sport. So it's going to be the Woody Marks and Nick Chubb show. They have kind of started to give Woody Marks more of a workload in this offense, which I think is the right call. Woody's kind of the guy that more explosion, can do more. If he has the gap, he's going to hit it, which I like. And on the Bills side, last week was the Josh Allen that we kind of expect every week. That kind of had disappeared for a few weeks. He shows up in his moments, but he showed up last week, and it was kind of the classic Allen game. He throws the 2 interceptions. One of them was pretty stupid, and he just has, I mean, explosiveness. 19 of 30 for 317 yards, 10 yards an attempt is absolutely insane. This receiving core, if you're looking at it, it's just kind of crazy that they give you this production. Tyrell Shavers, 4 for 90 and a touchdown, a 43-yarder. James Cook, he gives you that 3 for 66 and a touchdown. Ty Johnson, 2 for 61 and the touchdown. Gabe Davis, who's back on the Bills, gives you 3 for 40 yards. Keon Coleman was the healthy scratch with the disciplinary issue during the week. Kind of a bad situation there. I mean, this guy's kind of just looking more and more like a bust. Has not produced into what people kind of expect him to be coming out of college, which is unfortunate. But this Bills offense is explosive. And if I don't think that the Texans can match that, I think that the Texans defense has to be a team in this spot that can show up. And I mean, they're going to have to really show up in this game, quite frankly, because I don't see Davis Mills being able to put up more than 24, 25 if he's having a good day. This team struggled against the Titans last week, but they're going to have to force a few turnovers on Josh. They're going to have to give them short fields if they want to capitalize and score touchdowns and just put points on the board. Because if you fall behind against this Bills team, it's going to be rough sledding. They'll be able to rely on James Cook. You got to force Josh into a few early turnovers and kind of build off that, in my opinion, to have a shot in this game. I think the Bills win the game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer, low scoring, just because of how good that Texans defense is. But I just, quite frankly, don't see them being able to push the ball down in a big moment, or quite frankly, just putting up enough points to hang around against the Bills in this game. On the rest of the slate, it's an interesting slate. I mean, overall, there's a lot of high spreads, but there's a few games that I'm really intrigued for. I'd say 3 in the morning and maybe 2 in the afternoon, and then the Sunday night game something. But for a week with a lot of spreads that are high, you got a 10-point spread in the Lions game, 6-point in the Green Bay game, 14-point spread in the Hawks game, 13-point spread in the Ravens Jets. There's a few fun ones, and this first one I got Steelers Bears, 6-4 Steelers, 7-3 Chicago Bears. Aaron Rodgers has a minor break in his wrist, but I think he's trying to go. I mean, he's sitting at questionable. He's taking some snaps today from the shotgun. I don't know if he can really take an under center snap, which means I don't really know if he can play. A lot of what they do is under center right now. But I mean, he's going to want to play. He loves playing the Chicago Bears. And I mean, I think it's a big game for both these teams. Like I said earlier, I mean, what it means on the Bears side of the thing, but the Steelers hitting a 6-4. They got the Ravens lurking. And if they lose this game at 6-5, they're in a really bad spot when it comes to this division, and quite frankly, making the playoffs. Rodgers said playing stats will be a safety thing. I don't really know what that means. I mean, what can you really do? I mean, what can you really do? If your left wrist is partially broken, how much can you really move your wrist? And how much can you really even, like, if you're trying to stiff arm someone, one you come down on it once and it's worse for the rest of the season. But it's a massive game. If it's Mason Rudolph, I think you have to like the Bears' chances. If it's Aaron Rodgers, though, I would have some caution just because of kind of the Bears' issues on defense. If they can't force the turnovers, they get into rough spots. They had a good week against McCarthy last week. That's JJ McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to put the ball in harm's way. He's going to be cautious with it. He's going to be smart. He's not going to make dumb mistakes that maybe JJ McCarthy would have made. So if you have this guy in this game and they're not turning the ball over, I think it's in a rough spot where they can string together some drives. I'm not sure. I like the Bears in this game. I like the vibe that the Bears have this whole season. I think they win another close one, Rodgers or not, but it can get to some hairy areas if their offense struggles a little bit. I mean, I want to talk about Caleb Williams for a second. He hasn't necessarily he has his moments where it's like, okay, he's thrown it to no real touch. He really struggles putting touch on the football, but he's clutch, and his ability to evade sacks in the pocket is so good. I mean, there's so many plays where he's pressured, a guy gets a hand on him, and he breaks off the sack and just and even escapes for a few yards. It's so special. It's just a special to watch. And if he can dial in that touch, I mean, he's kind of you see why this guy was the number one pick overall. Next game that really is catching my eye, especially as the last few days. Patriots 9-2, Bengals 3-7. If you asked me 3 days ago, I would have said whatever. The Patriots are probably gonna roll these guys, but Joe Burrow is allegedly gonna play in this game. The Bengals are at home, 3-7. I mean, their playoff chances are very low, but he is tracking the play. I mean, last week it was a thing where he practiced, and this week he's getting the first team reps in practice. I mean, yesterday even Zach Taylor was like, I don't know if he's not practicing with the first team, with the first offense, he's probably not going to play. And then the second straight day, or he's 2 days ago, he said that he takes snaps with the starting offense. He wants to play. If he's healthy, he's a guy. You're not going to hold him out. He's not going to be held out if he's healthy. I guess it is even. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing because they're 3-7. You kind of have to win out. It's kind of the same thing as last season, and they're scheduled an absolute gauntlet. The Patriots, Ravens, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. But you have the games against the Ravens. You have 2 against the Ravens and 1 against the Browns. In your divisional record right now, you're 2-1 in the division. I think 9 wins could win this division, and if you beat the Ravens and kind of put them in that range, and the Steelers kind of falter a little bit, anything can happen. But I think it has the possibility to be really fun if Joe Burrow's out there. There's going to be no Jamar Chase because of the spitting on Jalen Ramsey's suspension. One of the dumbest things you can do. Your team's already in a really bad spot. And, I mean, you spit on Jalen Ramsey, and then you appeal it and say that you didn't when you obviously did. So dumb. But if Joe's out there, I'm not counting out the Bengals. And I think just like this defense is really bad. But if Joe Burrow's on that football field, just kind of the psychological thing that I'll do for this Bengals team, it cannot be overstated at all. It cannot be. I want to take the Bengals in this game. I don't know if that's smart, but it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. Give me the Patriots to win a shootout. No, give me the Bengals to win a shootout. Give me Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow's starting, give me the Bengals. Giants, Lions. The Giants are a team sitting at 2-9. They're going to be one of those teams that you don't want to play them when it comes down to the end of the season. The last week against the Packers, they had those guys kind of on the ropes. The Packers only win 27-20. They go behind to start the game. Jameis Winston only threw for 200 yards. I was expecting him to sling a little more, but he played like a pretty somewhat clean football game, and he turned the ball over twice, 1 fumble and 1 interception. But I want to see him let loose a little bit. I mean, they fought back. This was actually like a very well played football game by the Giants. Didn't win the game, but it was kind of fun. I mean, you gotta give them that. It was kind of a fun one. And yeah, I mean, on this week they got the Lions, who struggled last week. I mean, that was a rough watch for if you were a Lions fan. They're not necessarily in the playoff picture right now, which is crazy. They're third in the NFC North. I don't know if I call it irresponsible. It's how they've played football games for the last few years. Yes, but it is. I mean, it is frustrating to watch when you leave 5 fourth downs you don't get, and Goff didn't really look comfortable there at all, quite frankly. But I mean, they were just sloppy in those big moments, and I think this kind of goes into Dan Campbell calling this game, and he hasn't been in this spot in a few years or necessarily ever. If he's the one like calling football games for like a really good football team, but it felt like when they went for with Ben Johnson in the last few years, there was a guy open. Goff knew where he was going. He had guys open, sitting in the spots. It felt like Dan Campbell didn't really have those play calls necessarily ready. And I think that, I trust Dan Campbell. I think that he'll figure that out. But that's definitely like a concerning thing if you're a Lions fan. But I think they beat the Giants. I think it's a game that could get into a little bit hairy territory with a bit of a shootout, but I think they beat the Lions. Yeah, I think the Lions beat the Giants, but I hope to see them get back on track. I hope that they do have some of these third and fourth meaningful downs that they can get better on because you need to work on those moments for when it gets to the late season. Packers Vikings 6-3 Packers 6-3-1 versus Vikings 4-6. Not I'm so over JJ McCarthy. I am the most over him as I could be on anyone. He's these quotes are corny. His mechanics are really poor. He's just bad, dude. Like he's made Justin Jefferson look like somewhat average, which is really, really frustrating for him. He looks like he's like winging his leg around every time he throws it. I understand it's his first like really playing, but it's so frustrating to watch. And like the quotes are really, really pissing me off. I just don't like watching him quite honestly. And he's facing a really good Packers defense. He is, but he has to show somewhat of his. He has to. I don't care how good of the defense is. You're in the NFL. You have a good play caller in Kevin O'Connell. Jameis Winston was able to put up 20 points and move the ball down the field against these guys. I don't care who. You have to be able to show something in the first 3 quarters of a football game. He's been good in the clutch. Yes, okay. You have to be able to show that you can be a serviceable quarterback for the other 3 quarters of the game. To be honest, like that's just how I feel about it. He doesn't show. He doesn't make the throws he needs to. He tries to force. He throws dumb interceptions that gives the other team short fields. The Nation Wright interception was a good play, but it's an underthrown ball. He just isn't showing NFL quarterback traits yet, and it's. I get he's only started 5 games, but it's really, really frustrating. Give me the Packers in that game if that's not clear. Colts Chiefs. This is must-win territory for the Chiefs. I was listening to Booger McFarland on Part of My Take. He said that if the Chiefs don't win this game, they don't make the playoffs. And I mean, I'm going to have to agree. They're sitting at 3.5-point favorites. I think that's probably just because they're at home. But it, it's ugly territory. It is ugly, ugly territory for these guys. This is not the Chiefs that we're accustomed to watching. They don't show up in big moments. I mean, this Broncos game was a perfect example. They had multiple chances to make that score to kind of put the game out of reach. I mean, they got the ball with a chance to get into a 2-score game, and then they're up 3 against Denver in the fourth quarter, and they go 3 and out. And then they get the ball again when the game tied, a chance to go take the lead, and they go 3 and out. Incompletion, sack. It's not Chiefs football, and if they lose this game, they're not making the playoffs. I mean, they're sitting at 5-5 right now. If we're just looking at the entire AFC playoff picture, 5-6 puts them out of it. I mean, quite honestly, because the Chargers are at 7-4, the Jaguars are at 6-4. I think the Jaguars could fall a little bit, but the Texans and the Chiefs are both fighting over the same kind of spot right now. And I don't feel great at all about the Chiefs. They're gonna have to win not out, but you have to win some of these next few games. And they have a big game against the Texans in a few weeks. I think that they do win this game, but I don't know how confident I can say I could feel about that. I'm going to need to see their offense show up and march down the field against this Colts team. I think it is going to be close. I think Spags can force some Daniel turnovers, but this is do or die territory for Kansas City, quite honestly. Jets, Ravens, not going to spend too much time on this. Jets are starting Tyrod. The quote was that they wanted to see, they're starting him because they want to see if they have something in their young receivers and tight ends, which is the most like horrible quote that you could have like, about your quarterback, former quarterback. Like, we can't evaluate our skill positions because this guy can't throw them the football is one of the absolutely craziest things I've ever heard. But makes sense. I mean, I get it. I think it's the right decision. The Ravens are going to dominate these guys, and I don't feel like that might be the most confident thing I feel saying. The Ravens are in a must-win spot. But talking about the Ravens, they got some deep water last week, and they overcame it. But they were troubled a little bit, and It's just it was kind of just a defensive thing from the Browns. The Browns have really good defense, can stop a lot of guys, but you can't turn the ball over 3 times like that, like they did. LeJohntay Wester had a fumble, Lamar had 2 interceptions. You can't do that against a better offensive team. Otherwise, they're sitting at 5-5 as well. They're in a better spot than the Chiefs, obviously, um, because their division is so much weaker. So they're kind of can fight for a little bit. They can be a worse team and make the playoffs because their division sitting at 6-4, 5-5, 3-7, and 2-8. So the division winner could have 9 wins, and it's not going to matter. Whoever gets in, especially if it's the Ravens, are going to have a shot to make some noise. So the Ravens are going to dominate the Jets. That's all I have to say there. Yeah. Up next, in the 1:00 window, it's weird to say. I'm so excited for this football game. The Cleveland Browns take on the Las Vegas Raiders, 2-8 versus 2-8. I'm so excited to watch Shedeur Sanders play. I mean, it's not even like just the discourse is hilarious. It's like, I mean, the storylines are crazy. He didn't get any first team reps before last week, and then now the reporting Shedeur Sanders has taken his first team reps of the entire season. Kind of a crazy thing to report on. I think it's hilarious though. I want to see him do well. I want to see him succeed. A lot of what he did in that Ravens game, I don't think it was horrible. I mean, to be fair, like if you get tossed in there, like I understand, like you got to be a professional. Like people are saying, backup quarterbacks do it all the time. He's never. This was his first NFL like snap, so like it's not like he was a guy that's been around and wasn't ready for the city. He literally was not ready for the situation. Like he hadn't been in a situation like that with those guys. And you're facing the Ravens team, no prep all week on like it. I don't put a lot of that on him, but this week if you underperform, a lot of that will be on you. This is the perfect spot for your first career NFL start. The Raiders are 2-8. You have a really good defense behind you. They're gonna. I mean, I think it's a good spot for the Browns, dude. I think the defense is gonna make Geno's life hell. I think Geno's probably gonna throw a few interceptions, and I think Shador's in a spot where if he can just he can take care of the football, maneuver a few drives down the field, score a few touchdowns, then you can win the football game. You have a good running back next to you. You don't really have great receivers. You have a few good tight ends. Rely on Judy. I think if he can just show that you can push the ball down the field at a decent rate, it's automatically better than what Dylan Gabriel was giving you because Dylan Gabriel was showing an inability to push the ball down the field. I mean, at all. So if he can just show like semblance of a downfield passing game, I think that's what you want to see if you're a Browns fan. I hope he can have some success and start the rest of the season to make something interesting because with what Dylan Gabriel is doing, it wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. I hope it's a fun one. Up next, we got the Jaguars Cardinals. This feels a bit trappy if I was a Jaguars fan. Cardinals are 3-7, Jaguars are 6-4. And the Jaguars are coming off a dominating win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Absolutely dominant. This was one of my surprises of last week. I should have named these guys in a winner. That's my fault. Justin Herbert had nothing. He was 10 for 18, 1 interception. He was also their leading rusher with 21 yards on 3 carries. Vidal only carried the ball 5 times. They got behind. Trevor Lawrence, they just dominated them on the ground. This was physical football. Tootin had 74 yards rushing. Etienne had 73. They had 192 yards rushing on 47 carries. They did nothing special, but it was hard-nosed. It was dominant. It was, quite frankly, dominant by the Jacksonville Jaguars. But they're going in a spot in Arizona and the Jaguars before this game. I feel like that's one of those teams that they're always kind of in the game with you. And I could see if Arizona gets down to it, Brissett, I can see this being a closer game than kind of Jaguars fans would want it to be. The line's just a weird one to me. -3 favorites on the road. I understand they're 6-4, but I just feel like they're always in every game, if that makes sense. I think that they probably win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals pull that one out, to be honest. If Brissett can he's getting his guys involved. They're going to put up stats on offense. If he can not turn the ball over, because, he got the ball to Michael Wilson last week. I don't know if Gardner Harrison's going to play with that appendicitis. Probably not. But McBride's going to get the rock. Dortch is going to get the rock. Wilson's going to get the rock. It's just if they can keep the ball out of harm's way. That's kind of what the question is going to be. Eagles Cowboys, fun one in the afternoon slate. Eagles to 3.5-point favorites. This is kind of do or die for Dallas, in my opinion. They're sitting at 4-5-1. If you go to 4-6-1, you're probably done. It's a divisional game at home. It's kind of the last gasp for this team. As of now, the offense is explosive. They have the weapons to compete. I don't know if they will. Kind of a similar spot to that Broncos game. It was a big game for them to show up, and they didn't. In the Cardinals game, they didn't show up. And it's kind of just like Dak is great about filling up the stat sheet when it's against a bad team. He hasn't shown the ability to do it against a good team or in a big moment. So I think that I think that I don't know. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think that just the nature of the team, the way their team's built, it's not necessarily pretty. They do what they have to do, and I think that their defense has the ability to kind of shut down this Cowboys offense. So it's just kind of in that sense, I think the Eagles win the game. I don't think that Dallas has the ability to get stops when they need to, especially with like stops on the ground. I don't think they have that in them, and I think it's a good get right game for Hurts and AJ Brown. That discourse is so weird. They like don't talk. He's probably going to be gone after the season. If there's ever a week for them to get right, I think it'd have to be this week. Last game of the afternoon, Falcons Saints. The Falcons are a disaster. Raheem Morris has to go. It's one of the more like malpractice situations I've ever seen as from an NFL head coach. Michael Penix is done for the year. His ACL restructured, 9-month recovery. But what they've done, the amount of talent on this team, there's no way this team should be 3-7. They were dominating the Panthers in the first half, dominating, and they were. It was 21-10, and they were doing it easily. And Penix goes out, and then Kirk Cousins can't score a few times at the end of the game, or he can't score once at the end of the game. Drake London had 119 million. Bryce Young threw for 450 yards, and he has been. There's multiple games this season where he's thrown for a 130, I believe. He threw for 120 in his last. He hasn't thrown for over 200 yards since week 2 against the Cardinals. His lines in that sense are 121, 150, 198, 199, 138, 102, 124. He goes for 450 and beats you in overtime. Like, that's embarrassing. This team is a disaster. I hate watching them on offense. It's one of the most hard teams to watch in the league. And Kirk's going to go in there and he's going to be a statue in the pocket. He's not going to be able to move. He's going to be in pistol. They're going to get destroyed by the Saints, which is a crazy thing to say because it's the Saints. But I think the Saints are going to win this game and get 3 on the year. And the Falcons don't even have their first round pick. It's going to the Rams, which is the worst part about this whole situation. On the Rams, Bucks, Sunday Night Football. Bucks are sitting at 6-4. Rams are sitting at 8-2. Rams are 7-point favorites. The Bucks' magic is kind of gone. I'd love to see it come back. It would be awesome if they can win this game. I don't know if they necessarily can. I just don't see. The Rams are so good on both sides of the ball. They show up in all these big moments, and their defense gets stops when they need to. Their offense scores when they need to. They'll go into ruts when they need to score. They find a way to. And the Bucks have really struggled to get pressure when they're not blitzing this year. And that's the last thing you want to hear when you're facing the Matthew Stafford-led team. One of the things that kind of the Seahawks got them on, I feel like they kind of got in Stafford's face and they got their hands up and they batted balls down in big moments. I don't think the Bucks necessarily have that. The offense is going to have to be explosive for them to win this game. I'd love to see it. I don't necessarily think that it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it be close. If the Rams are going to make a statement on Sunday Night Football and dominate these guys, things are not looking very good there. But yeah, I think the Rams probably win this game, unfortunately. I hope it's a fun Sunday night one. Hope the Bucks can get their offense back on track, but I don't know how confident I feel about that. Last one, Monday Night Football. Panthers 6-5, Niners 7-4. The Niners, they look good, dude. Like they are looking like with Purdy behind them. I was kind of skeptical, I have to say, about how they were gonna play. And I gotta say, he kind of silenced everything that I thought that was going to happen. I mean, it is the Cardinals. They are a little banged up, but they dominate those guys. And the Panthers, I don't really trust their ability to win in a shootout, and I think the Niners are going to have some success going against their defense. So I think the Niners win that game. If the Panthers get to 7-5, it would be a great story. It would be an awesome story. I would love to see it, but I've yet to really see it from Bryce in a big moment, in a big game. He's had these moments in these teams, and they get these teams against like worse teams. Last week was a great hell of a game from him. But Niners Monday Night Football. Prove it to me, Bryce. You were number one pick for a reason, but I just don't know that I see it. And I think I'm gonna wrap up the show there. Yeah, it was strictly NFL show. Kind of just what I focused on this weekend. We got a lot of kind of bad games in the college football world coming up this week. Before we get into rivalry week, we'll have a big rivalry week preview for you next week. But yeah, gonna be one show next week. Sorry for one show this week. I had a lot going on, but thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Give it a review on the platforms on Apple and Spotify. Give me a follow on social media, and then I'll see you guys next week.